Hello everyone and welcome to another Fallout 76 news update. So, I just got through watching the Bethesda panel at QuakeCon, the much anticipated event where we learn new stuff about Fallout 76. As you probably know, they've been taking fan questions for their Q&A, and while they didn't answer nearly as many questions as I'd hoped, they did answer some, and so we do have a bunch of new information. I think I'll be doing two videos since there were basically two parts to the panel. The first part they talked about the perk cards and the character leveling and stuff like that, and then there was the Q&A. And so in this video today I'll be talking about just the Q&A because it's a lot easier to do that video, and it's going to take me a while to analyze the new character building footage that we were shown and to make a video about it. So expect that other video to come out soon, probably tomorrow, unless I'm super productive and can get it done sooner than that, but we'll see. So I'm just going to go through each question in the Q&A in the order that they presented them in the panel. So the first one was, why can't we play the beta any sooner? And all they really said was they're still working on making sure that when the beta releases and people break the game, because they will break it, that they have all their systems in place to deal with it and get things running again as soon as possible. And that's basically it. And I can't believe they actually wasted time on this question of all the things there is to talk about. Of all the things I'd rather know, you know? Anyway, there you go. So the next question was, how does PvP work and how do they deal with griefers? And this was probably number one of their top 10 questions, I imagine. And they actually did give us a bit of new information about this. So when you shoot someone in the game or attack them in any other way, you don't deal full damage. You deal just a little bit of damage to them. They described it as slapping someone in a bar. It's annoying, but eventually you might just want to fight and get it over with, right? And so it's basically a challenge to another player. If they accept this challenge and agree to fight, then PvP engages and you both do full damage to each other. And if you kill the other player, then you get a reward in caps and XP, which is based on the other player's level. So if they're lower level, you get a low reward, and if they're high level, you get a higher reward. And if you are killed during PvP, then the game gives you a chance to fight that player again. It lets you seek revenge if you want to, and as we've been told that before, of course. And if you do, then you get double the reward for killing them. You know, you don't have to fight them again, of course. You can opt out of that if you feel it was a fair fight and you're okay with how it turned out. Now, if somebody starts challenging you and you don't want to engage in PvP, you just want to mind your own business, the other player can still keep slapping you over and over. So basically damaging you in small increments. And they can eventually kill you this way if you are unable to get away from them for some reason. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to get away from them, or maybe you don't have enough stim packs or something, I guess. I don't know. When this happens, when a player kills another player outside of PvP, then he becomes a wanted murderer. And when Todd Howard said that, the crowd went nuts. I think they liked that idea. Anyways, so now we have heard of that before, of course, but this time they explained just what that means. So a wanted player gets a big red star next to his name, and he shows up on the map as a red star for all the other players to see. So everybody knows he's a wanted murderer. And going into sneak mode will not hide a wanted player on the map like it does for everyone else. So everyone can see him no matter what he does. And also, the wanted player can no longer see anyone else on the map. So he can't go hunting for other people. They will also no longer receive XP or caps for killing other players. So hunting other people will no longer be profitable to them. They get a bounty put on their heads, and this bounty actually comes out of their own caps. So they basically pay their own bounties. So again, no profit, and they actually lose what profit they have made in the past. Also, players will get double XP and double caps for killing wanted players. So there's even more incentive for players to go after these guys. And it also sounds like you can one-shot wanted players. Project leader Jeff Gardner in the panel talked about how he used a sniper rifle to blow off a wanted player's head with one shot. So I guess going against a wanted player is PvP, basically, without that agreement to enter into it. You can just go after a wanted player, and it's legal. You know, you can kill them right off the bat without having to engage in some sort of agreement with them first. He also mentioned that when you see someone on the map, it's not a pinpoint accurate representation of where they are. They're just in that general area. So you can fast travel to the location nearest to the player, but you'll still have to search for them. And depending on the terrain, it can still be very hard to find them, especially if they're sneaking, since you can't see them on the map at all, unless, of course, they have a bounty on their heads. Now, they also mentioned some other ways to control griefers. If someone is just giving you a hard time and you're sick of them, you can actually block them at any time for that play session. And they can no longer see you on the map when you block them, even if you're not sneaking. So you can fast travel away from them, and they won't be able to find you again. They said the map is so huge that it's almost impossible to find someone if you can't see their location on the map. Also, they've added a pacifist flag that you can put on your weapons. So if you're just out shooting creatures and then another player purposely jumps into your line of fire to try and trick you into entering PvP mode, to try to get you to kill them or whatever, then it won't work. Because they said they had people doing that in their testing and their play testing, so they made a way for you to prevent that from happening. So that's cool. So the next question was, what happens when you die? And this question has been answered a little bit in the past, of course. We've known that you can respawn at any nearby location or exactly where you died if you want to. You get to choose where you respawn, basically. We've known that when you die, you don't lose progress, you don't lose levels or gear, your stuff can't be looted off your body. So we've known all that already. But they told us some new info in the panel. When you die, you do lose your junk items. So your junk items are dropped into a loot bag where you die, and you can go back and get them if you want to. However, other players can also take your junk items that are dropped. Now, by junk, they mean anything that would be under the junk tab in your inventory. So stuff like desk fans and tin cans, baseball gloves, things like that. Basically anything you'd break down for crafting components. They recommend, of course, that before you go into a dangerous situation, you unload all your junk into your stash, which can't be looted by other players. And they said there are many stashes scattered around the map for your convenience. So they just wanted death in the game to have a little bit of a sting, but nothing that will set you back considerably. They said that in earlier versions of the game, there was no penalty for death. You didn't lose anything. It made death too easy. It made death not scary at all, and death should be a little bit scary. So they wanted death to have just a little bit of a sting, to make you think twice about rushing into dangerous situations, to make you think tactically. Do I want to risk getting killed and losing all the junk I just spent hours collecting, or should I go drop it off somewhere first? But of course, you never lose your weapons and armor, and people can't loot your valuable stuff either, so that's good. And I actually think that that's a good thing. I think death should always have some sort of consequence. You know, like in Fallout 4, death has a consequence in that you lose some progress, you know, back to your last save point. And if you were stupid and didn't do a quick save anytime recently, it could be a long time. You know, you could lose a lot of progress. That's the only consequence of death in a single player game, or at least in Fallout. But in Fallout 76, they weren't having any consequence for death. And when I heard that originally, I was like, well, then what's the point of even being careful, or what's the point of running from danger or anything if you can just die and respawn instantly? Like, there are games, like especially adventure games like Uncharted, for instance. If you die, there's absolutely no penalty, and you don't even usually lose progress because there are constant checkpoints, like every minute or so, or you know, before every chance that there is for you to die, like falling down a cliff or something, there's a checkpoint, so you like respawn immediately where you left off, and there's no consequence. It's not scary to die, and I think it should be a little bit scary to die for some reason. You know, that you have to. there's some kind of consequence, you know, that's just what I'm saying. So I'm glad that they added that at least, and that you only lose your junk items. I know in other survival RPGs, if you die, you lose everything that you worked so hard to get. It drops everything, all the clothes, all your armor, all your weapons, all your everything, and you have to go back and get it or start completely all over from scratch. And I'm glad that they're not having it that way, but I do agree that they should have some kind of penalty for death. Anyways, so I'm glad they added that. What do you guys think about this? Anyway, moving on, in regards to respawning, you can respawn at any unlocked location on the map, just like fast traveling, and we've been told that before. However, new information, it costs a small amount of caps to respawn. And the farther away the respawn location is, the more caps it will cost. But the nearest location to you will always be free to respawn at, and respawning at Vault 76 will always be free. So again, another little tiny sting to death in that it will cost you a little bit of money to respawn if you want to respawn farther away from where you died. Like say the nearest location to where you died is a little too close for comfort if you're fighting a really tough enemy and you want to respawn a little farther away and then go somewhere else, it will cost you a little bit to do that. So moving on, the next question was about nukes. Probably number 9 in the top 10 most asked questions list. Basically what happens if your camp gets nuked? That was the question. And there wasn't really any new information in the answer, unfortunately. Maybe because there isn't anything else to say about it. Basically, your structures can be destroyed, but it is very easy to fix them, or you can move your camp altogether. And Todd said again why they made structures destructible. It wasn't so that people can grief you and just go around trying to destroy your camps. The reason they made them destructible was to prevent players from imprisoning other players by building walls around them. So it's a way for players to escape if they are imprisoned. So not really new information there, and they moved on from that topic pretty quickly. So the next question was, how do you communicate with other players? And of course, we've already been shown previously that there's an emote wheel that you can use to communicate with strangers, and you can also do voice chat with your teammates. However, and this is even since E3, they've added the ability to do voice chats with strangers too. They found that only being able to use an emote wheel with strangers didn't make interacting with strangers very interesting enough. So if you have a mic, you can turn it on, and strangers in your general area will be able to hear you talk. Of course, this is totally optional. If you don't want people to hear you, just don't have your mic on, and you can just use the emote wheel to communicate with them. The next question is about VATS. Basically, how does it work? And of course, we've already known that VATS will be real time, but something that's fairly new is that at the start of the game, you will not be able to target specific body parts. You'll only be able to target the whole body, and your percentage chance to hit will be based on your perception level. And perception starts at 1 now, so VATS isn't as useful right out of the gate. But later on, you can get perks that will allow you to target specific body parts. And of course, you can increase your perception to increase your chances of a hit in VATS. And I will be going into more detail about what we learned in regards to perks in my other video. So stay tuned for that one. The next question was, who will be doing the music for Fallout 76? And of course, they just announced the other day that it will be Enon Zur, the same guy who did the soundtrack for Fallout 4, which is cool since I just love the Fallout 4 soundtrack. So I'm glad it's going to be just as good for Fallout 76. But Todd did confirm that they will also have radio stations with music that we'll get to listen to, just like we were guessing there was based on things we saw in the footage. And he said it will be a lot more music than in Fallout 4. So I'm looking forward to that. I've always loved the radio stations. I love turning on Diamond City Radio while doing settlement building. But I always thought that there wasn't quite enough music variety on there. You know, you'd get through the rotation of songs too quickly, you know what I mean? He didn't say how or by whom these radio stations would be operated, whether it would be automated or robots operating them or whatever. And of course, the interviewer didn't think to ask that question. They never do, right? They never ask the right questions. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm really glad that radio stations will be in the game for sure. So the last question was about private servers and basically what's the news about that. Todd said that it's definitely something they plan on doing, and not just private servers, but also the ability to mod them. He said it's a complicated problem, but it's one that they're 100% committed to solving. So they're only just now starting to figure that out, and they don't really have anything new to say about it just yet. And that wrapped up the Q&A. The interviewer said, that's all the questions we have. And I'm like, yeah, right. You didn't answer my question. The question I sent them was, can you have more than one camp at a time? And of course, they didn't answer that one, although the answer is probably no. Come to think of it, they didn't really answer any questions about camps, except in regards to can they be destroyed by nukes, which was very disappointing. I was hoping to learn more about camps. They probably just answered the top 10 questions or something. Oh well. October comes soon enough, and then we will all know everything. And several people have asked me if I'm going to be playing the beta, and yes, I definitely will be. I've signed up for the beta on both PS4 and Xbox. I don't know if we'll be able to play the beta on more than one platform, but we'll soon find out. I'll be playing it on whichever one they allow me to, whether it's one or the other or both. And according to the frequently asked questions on Bethesda.net, there will be no restrictions on the beta. So I will be able to share any and all footage or screenshots that I captured during my beta playtesting. So I will be putting up as much beta content on my channel as I can physically do, as I can physically manage. So if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this new information. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to support my channel, you can follow the links in the description to my Patreon and Ko-fi pages. And I'd just like to give a huge thank you to all of those who have chosen to support my channel already. You guys are so awesome, and it's because of you that this channel keeps going. I really, really couldn't do it without you, and that is the honest truth. I'll see you all in the next video, you guys, and until then, remember to play safe, play nice, and have fun. Bye, guys.